Once in a while, some would ask me about my opinion on the new agent's design. I personally more focus around agent's kit and gameplay, but sure, why not? Let's talk about Velina design. To start off, maybe I can kinda see what's the target design that they would want to put Velina as here. She is an elegant and tall older lady. I think she's the first agent in ZZ with this skin wrinkles detail, which I think is neat. So they don't really play it safe all the time with the design. Velina is a seemingly friendly woman, always greeting you with a smile, but wherever you go in Rose Califer, you keep hearing that Velina is also a witch or even a Grim Reaper. Kinda rude to call a woman a witch to be honest, but it's clear the game wants to give a contrasting image for this character, between the NPC and the proxy viewpoint. It gives mystery to Velina characteristics. We know why she's called to witch through Velina promo video in ZZ YouTube and marketing, but Twice and Belle probably wasn't. That's the idea. That's the hook for you to learn it in the story. I think it's cool. I have no further comment on it. I don't love her, nor do I hate her. Velina design for me personally, a weak 7 out of 10. She is not my cup of tea, pun intended, and I think she's also a bit boring, but we'll get into it more later. She's still pleasant to see, so I have no complaint. Her skin I kinda like more. So the description of her skin is that this is her casual attire. Compared to her normal skin, which I guess is her work outfit, her skin gives a lot of streetwear metal girl fashion, which I kinda dig in, with her leather boots and dark with a blue accent garment. I love leather boots fashion. For me, it would be really fitting if Velina wears some piercing and is holding a guitar here instead of her big fan weapon in the skin. No, I don't mean that they should change the skin to that. What I'm saying is that this skin gives a vibe that Velina goes to a rock concert on her day off. That's just my headcanon. But the skin works really good in a way it gives contrasting perspective on Velina, who is normally an elegant government lady in a dress. But they also didn't erase that element in her skin design entirely. It's now presented just with a different flavor. I think that's the least a skin should do. It explores more on the character design and personality, without really taking away much from them. Very good skin design. Strong 8 out of 10. But I don't buy in-game skin, so you'll never see me using it. Remember people, you can express love on something without actually spending money on it. Let's talk about Velina's weapon of choice. She has two, her small fan and her big fan. From how her weapon is being described, I would take it that her weapon is like a sharp-edged blade fan, and the big one is more like a sword fan. And it is said that this weapon is how Velina harnessed the wind attribute in combat. Whew, okay, this I have a problem, and I honestly think Velina is boring because of this. Let's elaborate on this and give some context before we talk about Velina's weapon of choice. The compelling part of ZZZ world building for me is their sci-fi fictional world, with their own additional law of nature, the etheric element in their environment. You can call Ether in ZZ as their magic system. Most of unique things that happen in ZZ will be explained because of Ether element, but not all of them. This is what makes me really interested in trying ZZ in the first place. Let's talk about agents' compatibility and how they harness their attribute in combat. Fire agents, Magus Breath Fire, Bernicius Flamethrower, okay that's straightforward enough. Soldier 11 creates fire in combat with her sword if we press her basic attack in a specific rhythm. And if you see the animation, it looks just like if you strike a match or a flint and stone to create fire in real life. You have to apply a certain amount of pressure and the right angle for it to spark flame. So even if there are no flaming sword in real life, the concept of Soldier 11 wielding her weapon with precise technique and timing, with maybe some Oval Squad R&D technology for the fuel system, to create momentary fire to fight the Ether monster in combat is quite believable for me. Soldier 11 is not a fire goddess that can wield the fire element from nature to fight alongside her. She is just a soldier with a combat certification in fire attribute, which I think is really cool for the part of non-magical world building in ZZ. Then Ice. Lycon can freeze the enemy and the surrounding with his prosthetic leg. This idea is conveyed through the fan in his leg. We are shown a lot of mechanical things happen there. How can his ultimate freeze the air around him in less than 1 second? I don't know, but it looks like there's a lot of heat transfer and exchange happening in his leg. Cool technology, so I can believe it. Electric agent, very straightforward. Anything involving electrical technology or high voltage in their weapon. But I think it's also the most interesting one. Grace used her nail gun to attach an electrical conductor material to her enemy, connecting her electrical grenade to hit harder. Rina used Drusilla and Anastella in the battlefield to deploy an electrical dipole that could interact with a metallic object, Soldier 11's sword for example, and the magnetic field that Rina creates makes Soldier 11's sword sharper or cuts more deeply because of the atomic vibration it creates, conveying the pen ratio and electrical damage buff that she gives. Is it real science? No, probably not, but that's not the point of sci-fi writing. The goal of sci-fi writing is not to prove some supernatural or mythical concept to be realistic. It's to dispense our belief, so we can enjoy the new concept that the writer wants to use as a prop for their story. In this case, Genless Zone Zero and the agents with their various combat ability in this world. Physical attribute is straightforward. Basically, it's combat agents without an attribute that mostly fight with sharp or penetrating objects, like a sword, dagger, or a bullet. Ether is special, because this is a new element that the story introduced, and it is an important part of the world. Each Ether attribute agent's ability is very unique on their own, thus they also become a part of the game world building. You would think, how can a young woman like Nicole create a black hole? Basically a world-ending object in real life. But if you look around in New Eridu, this thing is everywhere, and it behaves very differently, with their own rule explained in the story. So it would be easy to believe that a device that can create an etheric energy ball exists in this world. Now, Wind attribute. Wind is a new attribute in ZZ. Even though wind is a real-life concept, we still haven't got any demonstration on how the wind attribute presented in Zenla's story. We were introduced to it in combat with the Scorched Horizon boss, but it begs the question, why were Scorched Horizon can even wield wind attribute in the first place? Why Spyro is an ether attribute then? That's a question I hope they would answer throughout 3.0. They better be. So what will be our first introduction for a wind attribute agents in ZZ that we can play? A character that will introduce us to the new attribute with the new visual, new interaction, and basically new part of the sci-fi world building. Oh, she is a fan, because if you blow fan hard enough, it will create wind. Cool. Except not cool, because I think this is a really boring take of a new attribute in the game. In 3.0, we're introduced to Roscaliver, a new area that fly high in the sky. That is, if I understand correctly, located in the middle of a storm cloud. It's basically like Venice, if Venice is in the middle of the fucking sky. Naturally, there's a lot of question about this flying city for the story enjoyer. How can they fly? How can they breathe easily in high altitude area like that? How many times does someone fall off from the edge of the city in a week? And there's a lot of narrative element that they can tie with Velina here. Same as how Nicole presented the same ether element as a character for the new Eridu environment, I would have expected Velina would do as well. But no, she just blows her fan really hard to create a cyclone, which I think is a really lazy take on it. I'm sorry, but my belief is not being suspended here to take her ability as is. And different than Lycon Ice technology, I cannot see any visible ether technology in her fan. As I understand it, Velina weapon is just a sharp blade fan, which would put her more close to a physical attribute design. I'm not saying that Velina should be a physical agent, okay? That's way off from what I'm talking about here. I'm saying that Velina is a bad representation of wind attribute in ZZ. They could attach the technology that makes Roscaliver flies in the sky to Velina. Maybe Velina used the same technology to conjure Cyclone in combat. They could at least give some sci-fi element, like the hot air and cold air equilibrium that create tornado in real life. Yes, this idea will not work as is on the final Velina design. Attaching a jet engine on Velina right now would be really dumb. But my point is, they could have done more for the combat narrative of Velina as the agent that fights with the wind element when they designed her on the early round of brainstorming. Oh, okay Zeke, I think your argument is very dumb. Have you considered that Miyabi can summon a storm and Yi Xingguang literally can fly even though she is physical? Yeah, but they use Void Hunter weapon, which is a well-established lore element that basically the closest thing in this world to the power of God, so I can take those as an exception in the sci-fi world element. Oh yeah? Then how about Ithari? How can she summon a tentacle? Well, I don't know, but her weapon is really and there's a lot of mechanism happening whenever she charges her attacks. If you want to present a powerful attacks, I think you should also give an equal amount of effort the character seems to put into it. The hammer jet engine-like mechanism, the rotating parts, and I think there's enough room for an ether device inside her hammer to conjure Ice Tentacle. Does Velina character design and weapon convey that idea? No. As is, For me, Velina combat presentation is a strong 5 out of 10. So what does this has to do with Anji? Nothing really. I just really like him. If you want me to like a fine weapon user, you have a tough competitor to beat. At the end of the day, Velina is still a safe character designed by Hoyo. She is not challenging, she is not novel in a sense, but she is also not exactly a gacha repetitive design that Hoyo keep releasing every month. That's good enough for me. I'm not hoping the first agent in 3.0 to be a male agent, because that's realistically not happening. They are on cooldown for male character after Silly. Do I hope that ZZ will release an apps exposing character? Kinda. Intelligent construct apps didn't count, okay? I understand that Chinese market for Hoyo is different for Western market, and they definitely know what their whales want in the game. But I hope they understand that masculine character wouldn't really give bad impact to the whole game storytelling. Velina weapon and ability design is disappointing for me, and I think it's boring. I hope they would do more to introduce a new attribute in the game. I guess they focus more on Velina characteristic and trope, while they left out her combat ability presentation as simple as they can get away with. Which is a shame because ZZZ combat is the most important part of the game for me, and telling a story through the combat is an integral part of the game. The target was to make an elegant character that fights with wind attribute, which Velina conveyed the idea pretty clearly. But counter-argument, Anji can also look elegant in his fighting animation with his abs,